Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about astrology and fame. And I'm going to be talking about some strong potential fame indicators to look at in a natal chart. Now, I think one thing that's important, according to research that I've done on this, is that looking at the aspect between the ruler of the first house and the ruler of the 11th house. It's interesting because Michael Jordan has the ruler of his 11th, which is Mars, making a very extremely tight trine aspect to his moon, which is in sports-minded Sagittarius in the 6th house. So very, very interesting. And also, it's also significant, I think, looking at planets at the angles, which are the first, fourth, seventh, and 10th houses. And I'm talking about planets that conjunct those house cusps. So anyway, Jordan has Venus almost exactly conjunct his 7th house cusp. He also has Jupiter, the benign, lucky, and fortuitous planet, in its dignity in Pisces, conjunct his 10th house of career and recognition. And I think what's interesting too is that the ruler of his 10th house, which is one of the rulers, which is Jupiter, because he has a Pisces midheaven, and Jupiter is conjunct his 10th house. So it's that makes that very interesting how his status and recognition is so prominent in his life. I think that definitely plays a role. Now, I think critical degrees can be important too as far as notoriety and fame and recognition goes. And Michael Jordan has his ascendant at 13 degrees Cancer, and his Venus is 13 degrees Capricorn. And those are both in critical degrees. The 13 degrees Cancer rising and the Venus at 13 degrees Capricorn. 13 degrees Cancer and 13 degrees Capricorn are both critical degrees. Now, I think what's interesting too is that you have the infamous and I think very nefarious Adolf Hitler had his ascendant at 26 degrees Libra. Now, I think what really strongly factored into him being infamous as opposed to being famous is the fact that he had only one positive aspect made to his ascendant, and that was a sextile from the moon in Capricorn. And of course, that's in its detriment by sign, and that moon in Capricorn was intercepted as well. And whatever other aspects, the best of my knowledge, were adverse and negative ones that were made to that 26 degrees Libra ascendant. Now, I think it's also important to look at, okay, as far as the 10th house goes and the 11th house goes, see if you have planets in the 10th and or 11th, and if you have in good aspects, a number of good aspects made to those planets, then those could be potential fame indicators as well. Now, I think there's a little conflict over which house is it that actually governs fame and notoriety. I think that I see the 10th figuring more prominently as far as this goes, but it seems like the 11th may be connected with fame as well. And for me, I'm wondering, and I don't know this 100%, this is speculation on my part, but as far as the 11th house goes, could it be maybe more of a spontaneous or extemporaneous fame, like a sudden fame? Because it seems like Uranus could be connected with sudden fame. And I'm thinking, well, the 11th house in astrology corresponds with Aquarius, which of course Uranus is a ruler of Aquarius. So maybe it's more of an abrupt and unexpected kind of thing. But I think the 10th house is what's generally what I think is associated with fame and recognition, at least by most, or the consensus, I believe. But I'm thinking the 11th could play a role in that as well. So anyway. So you might want to look at a number of factors. You could look at, see if you have, okay, the ruler of the first and the 10th well aspected, the ruler of the 10th and the first house well aspected, the ruler of the first and the 11th house well aspected, and the ruler of the perhaps the 11th in the first, as well as the ruler of the first and the 11th. So well aspected, of course, at least having enough. I would say at least even a few good aspects, and if it has, especially if it has more good aspects than negative, has predominantly good aspects, I think that helps. So anyway, I think we could look at one chart that really shows a multitude of indicators for strong fame and notoriety. And I want to talk a little bit about a renowned actor, I should say, Tom Hanks' chart. Now, he has 3 planets in his 10th house, and he has 2 in the 11th. Now, he also has Venus in Gemini conjuncting his Gemini MC, a fairly close conjunction, I believe. And also that Gemini and Venus in Gemini also trines Neptune in the 2nd and makes a sextile to Pluto. So also he has Uranus in the 11th house in its accidental dignity, and the moon is in Leo in the 11th house as well. Now, the moon in astrology rules one's emotional needs. Now, Leo is the sign of the actor, so it's not really surprising. And also, Leo, his moon in Leo is also at 9 degrees, which is a critical degree. So critical degrees, as I mentioned before, can play a role, I think, and they're not always negative. I think there's a misconception about critical degrees, that there's always something foreboding, or it's going to mean something real negative is going to happen because, oh, I got this critical degree, and not necessarily. I think a lot depends on the aspects of that placement of the critical degree. And Tom Hanks, I mean, having that moon in Leo at 9 degrees in that house of aspirations and goals, I think it's just a little bit too coincidental, and the fact that he's a very good actor. And to me, I think that definitely plays a role in what he does, and as far as him being an actor. So also his chart, what's interesting is that Tom Hanks' chart ruler, okay, that's in the 10th house. Okay, he has a Virgo ascendant. Of course, the ruler of Virgo is Mercury. That's posited in the 10th house. However, he has Gemini midheaven, and of course, Mercury rules Gemini. So that ruler, which is Mercury, is in the 10th house. So what this tells me is that maybe it shows me that, okay, the ascendant is like that outer demeanor, that's that dominant side that comes out very strongly to others, and that the 10th house being the career, it just shows me how himself, how he projects himself, that outer personality, and this and his career are just so inextricably interwound, it's not even funny. So also he has Mars in Pisces at 17 degrees, which makes a conjunction to his descendant. Okay, that's one of the angles again. And 17 degrees is a critical, 17 degrees Pisces is a critical degree, because 17 degrees of mutable signs are critical. And it's also part of a grand water trine. So, to me, I mean, you talk about all the success that Tom Hanks has had. I mean, all you really got to do is just look at his chart, and you could see all these indicators for it. And anyway, I think that pretty much concludes this YouTube astrological segment for Astrology and Fame. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking. I'll be continuing my zodiac sign compatibility series. 2 things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone. Because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.